So, hello everyone. My name is Paul Stevens, and it's a pleasure to welcome you to this short-term rentals pitch to Paul webinar, our regular Dragon's Den / Shark Tank style session, where free innovative travel or hospitality startups pitch for potential investment. And this session is sponsored by Price Labs and Minute. So I'm the editor of short-term rentals at International Hospitality Media, and I'm the host for today's session. Before we begin though, let's introduce our first webinar series sponsor. This is Price Labs.
Price Labs, a leader in revenue management, is unveiling its breakthrough release. Discover the new hyperlocal pulse dynamic pricing algorithm. By tapping into hyperlocal market trends, it's setting new standards in accurate pricing and response to market changes. With our smart presets, customize our algorithm easily and get personalized guidance. With our desktop app, speed up your workflows and manage multiple listings smoothly from your computers. Experience our award-winning product, created by a world-class data science team. With our global reach, anyone, anywhere can use Price Labs. Discover more game-changing updates crafted to propel your short-term rentals to success. Visit pricelabs.co/breakthrough today.
A big thank you to Price Labs for sponsoring this webinar series. And next we have our second series sponsor. This is Minute.
Hi there, we're Minute. We make home sharing work for everyone, hosts, guests, and communities alike. We've developed the world's first indoor and outdoor sensor built specifically for hospitality, and the only one that integrates with Airbnb. The Minute sensor monitors noise, occupancy, motion, and temperature. It's camera-free, so it protects your guest privacy. We can help you prevent parties and noise complaints, enhance guest experience, and protect your rental properties, just like a co-host would. When Minute detects noise, it notifies the host. It can also contact your guests via Airbnb messages, SMS, or an automated phone call. Similarly, you'll be the first to know when there's a risk of crowd, the AC malfunctions, or someone tries to enter your rental between bookings. And the best part is, you can install Minute yourself in minutes. That's why we're trusted by hosts and hospitality professionals in more than 100 countries. Find out more about how Minute can help you host happy at minute.com.
And a big thank you to Minute and to Price Labs for sponsoring this series and this session. So in terms of guidelines for today, please keep your sound on mute and your camera off if you're not a speaker. All of the details will be posted throughout in the chat by my colleagues Joe and Danny. So please do post any questions you have there throughout for any of our startups, our investor today. All of the startups will be pitching one by one, followed by a question or two from myself and then our investor guy, and then we'll be providing some expert feedback on all of the pitches. And finally, a recording will be sent around to everyone within 48 hours after the session today. So let's introduce our speaker lineup for today, all very briefly. So Alan, if you could just introduce yourself very briefly before we move on to your pitch very shortly.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Sound great. So my name's Alan. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Swapdesk. We're a home exchange platform for professionals. Before this, I worked for Salesforce, and I quit my job with my co-founder, Rory, who worked for Microsoft, to do this full time. So thanks for the invite.
Thank you very much, Alan. Next up, we have Ruben from Loopa.
Hey guys, my name is Ruben Westmeijer. I live in Lisbon, and I'm here to present Loopa, which we've started early this year. So I'm really excited to share our vision with the world.
Thank you very much, Ruben. And our third startup today, Connor, please introduce yourself.
Yep. Hey, everyone. Super excited to talk to you. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Noshable, and you'll have to wait to the pitch to hear a little bit about what we do.
I like it. Thank you, Connor. And last but by no means least, we have Guy, please.
Hi, everyone. Nice to be with you. Actually, just came back from Lisbon last week on the WAF, so happy to see someone from there. I'm 53 years old, based in Tel Aviv. Most of my career was with travel technology. My last position was with Sabre. I managed their distribution business in Eastern Europe, Israel, and Cyprus. I left 5 years ago, started One Travel with Henry, my partner. We invest in travel tech startups, early stage, and I am excited to hear more about your ventures.
Thank you very much, Guy. And yes, we very much, obviously, with the global context right now, we certainly appreciate you being able to appear here, and glad to know that you're also safe right now. Thank you. So a reminder just before we turn to our first startup, Swapdesk, a reminder that our investors are under no obligation to invest today, but by all means, they have the opportunity to pursue investment opportunities if they wish. If we have investors, or the investors, I should say, in the chat, please do follow up with our startups today as they go on their funding adventures. All of the details are being posted in the chat. If you're not an investor and you're here as support, or you're here to learn about our startups, then please do also post your questions throughout for our panel. Thank you to all of you for agreeing to participate today. So let's move straight on to our first startup today, and I'm delighted to introduce Alan, please, from Swapdesk. So Alan, I'll take it away with your pitch, please.
Great. So you do I say next and you click the button, or
yes,
how does it work?
Next slide, absolutely, how that works.
All right, great. So as I said, my name's Alan. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Swapdesk, and we're a trusted home exchange community for remote workers. You can hit next. So just to start kind of the narrative, the problem is we see it as travel has gotten, too expensive. For example, if you want to do a week in Paris, it'll cost you 3,200 euros per person, and approximately 40% of that, especially in large cities, goes towards lodging or accommodation. You can hit next. And so it's prompted 90% of travelers now to look for budget alternatives. And, we've looked at the data, and essentially as the daily rates go up, which they have in major cities like Paris, for example, here by 15%, and on average around 15% year on year, occupancy rates have gone down. And so the opportunity that we see is that there's people are searching for low cost alternatives in this market. You can go ahead next, Paul. The other sort of trend that we think is interesting that kind of interplays with it is remote working. It means that people now have an opportunity. Now, this is about 51% of workers today to work while traveling. And from all the workers surveyed around the world, 65% of them plan to take a workation. So what does that mean? It means that they're looking for work-ready accommodation. It also means that they tend to spend around 40% longer in destinations, which by and large is really good for the travel industry. But you can go next, Paul, on the deck, and I think the challenge, and this is not necessarily from research, but it's research that we've had from our users. What they tell us is paying rent in two places. So if you have a place in Amsterdam and then going to London for 2 weeks is essentially unaffordable. So people dream of having this lifestyle. They're now liberated by remote work. But when you look at the ability to do that with the trend, with the cost of rentals, it becomes unaffordable for most people who are not necessarily in this sort of wealthy bucket. You can hit next. And I just want to set the level playing field because my co-founder was like, maybe people don't know what this concept is. And so, the question we asked ourselves is, what if home exchanges would solve the problem? Most people know the concept from the movie The Holiday, where essentially, two girls swap houses between the UK and California. And this essentially provides the opportunity in a bartered exchange to have a low-cost stay and for your home to become an asset of freedom and travel rather than something that keeps you in the same place. You can hit next. And of course, we looked at many alternatives in much of the market. These are some of the logos you'd obviously be familiar with, but here's some of the problems that we see sort of with the existing solutions. First of all, Airbnb and hotels, as we've already mentioned, are too expensive. When you look at platforms like Trusted House Sitters, or the biggest platform in this space, homeexchange.com, there is a pretty low match rate. And part of that is because there's too much variation in the user base. You have families, you have people that are workers, you have middle income, you have high income, you have people that live out of cities, people that live in cities. So there's with all of that variation, it becomes very difficult to match. Actually, some of our research and from real users using our platform as well shows that if people kind of look for a match 3 or 4 times and they don't get one, they kind of drop off. And so so basically they have a low match rate problem. The other thing that we see is the entire industry basically copied Airbnb. You have a search and filter user experience. So when you're booking an Airbnb, that's like pretty good because you can just book it. When it comes to this type of model of bartering, more of a community, it doesn't work particularly well, yet everyone is doing it. And part of our UI is that way today, but we think it's outdated and there's a real opportunity for innovation. And the last thing I'll say is that if you look at these platforms, they have work ready stays, but it's inconsistent. So they sort of lack having work ready stays across the platform, strong Wi-Fi, and great places to be productive. Go ahead on the next slide, Paul. And so why Swapdesk, and what are we building? We're building a low-cost platform where members are people like you with our networks concept. We've started with tech workers because that's the world that we know, and that's the world that Rory and I come from Salesforce and from Microsoft. Where there's a lot more intelligent matchmaking that requires far less effort on the user's part of searching for people. We've borrowed ideas a lot more from the dating industry than traditional search and filter. All of our locations have work-ready stays and are specifically in high-cost travel hubs like Paris, London, Barcelona, etc. And we're creating a travel ecosystem that I think we can only create when you have a more homogeneous user base. Think of things like co-working spaces, or if you're a software engineer and you land in Lisbon, you may be prompted to see events that are relevant to crypto if that's an interest of yours. And when you have these other platforms, it's kind of like the holy grail of travel, right? Can you capture the revenue opportunity across the entire customer's sort of travel life cycle? And we know Airbnb's tried to do this for a while, but I would argue that most of us here haven't actually used those features. And I think it's in part because it's not very well designed for a specific sort of type of user, very specific age group. And so we think we have an opportunity to build an ecosystem around that as well, which we've started. You can go next, Paul. How am I for time? I haven't really looked.
Yeah, no, okay at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet. So we have some early user feedback. I think some of the exciting things for me have been users from companies like Salesforce saying that, finally they're able to use their work from anywhere policy where, they thought it was really only affordable to executives, but kind of it kind of reinforced why we were doing this in the first place. Others were able to go to kind of HQ or much larger hubs and experience the culture in a different way. Others have told us they saved a ton of money. And I think the most exciting part is that when we've surveyed our users, 95% of those that went on a trip gave us a 10 out of 10 on the NPS score, meaning, would recommend to a friend. What that tells me is the more value creation that we can create on the platform, the more, people will essentially organically refer us. And I'll refer to that in a second if you want to go to the next slide. Just very quickly how we see the market opportunity. Today, rough numbers in the US and in Europe, there are 57 million people between the age of 25 and 34. So this is people like pre-kids, generally speaking, that are more sort of liberated in terms of being able to work from anywhere. And that number is also representative of the number of people that can work either remotely or hybrid, so remote part of the time. With some of the initial pilots that we did, we believe a modest sort of estimate would be that 20% of these people would embrace hosting others and the concept of a home exchange. And so if you take that 11.5 million people and If you monetize around $200 per user per year, which again I think is an underestimate for a platform that's functioning well, you could see a $2.3 billion market. So I think Airbnb's laid a really strong foundation for a lot of us who are trying to enter these markets, but it paves the way for some innovative competition and some significant work trends that I think are, play in our favor for capturing a good slice of this market. We can hit next. So our business model. This comes from a lot of user interviews. It's free to join Swapdesk, but it's on application. So we don't let everybody in, especially as we sort of methodically grow the platform. Then when you find a stay, you pay $30 per night as a service fee. And that gives you, of course, access to the platform. We provide protection for your things, your belongings, for your home, up to $5 million, trip concierge. We help organize cleaning, as I mentioned, things like co-working spaces and so on. Some of those other things that come with our service will provide ancillary revenue opportunities, but I won't necessarily get into that now. But that's essentially how the platform works. Pay for value rather than pay for membership, which is what the industry has generally how they've approached it. You can click next. And so just to share a little bit of our progress so far, we've had over 100 nights booked on the platform. We've brought in 230 companies into our sort of trusted network. These are some of the biggest tech companies around the world, for example, and some smaller ones. Over 1,000, we've accepted over 1,000 users, which is growing modestly. I think we could do a lot better. I think what's one of the more interesting things is 70% have come from referrals. So we spend no money on advertising, and most of our users have come because other users are talking about us inside of their company or with their professional network. And so, I think what we've proven to ourselves is that we have a product and a vision that people are attaching to. And I think now it's about, figuring out the best way to capture that value and to grow it at scale. You can hit next. So just a little bit about, Rory and I, we have known each other since university. We went to the University of Waterloo together. I was one of his groomsmen at his wedding. He studied computer science. I studied law and business. And Rory spent 8 years at Microsoft scaling up Edge and working with international teams as a product manager. And I worked across Salesforce and Gartner, launching products in North America. Then I moved to Australia, and then now in Europe, doing all those things. And so final slide, please, would be our ask, or just generally sort of what we're seeking right now. We're looking to raise $500,000. Could be via straight equity or convertible note. We're open, obviously, to those conversations. And it's essentially to give us 18 months of runway to get to product market fit, invest in engineering resources, to help kind of unlock some of the things in our roadmap, and to kind of invest more in marketing, but not so much in traditional advertising, but more in like growth hacking and continue to figure out low-cost ways. Just to give you a sense, like it costs us about $3 to acquire a user now, and we burn pretty like $300 a month. So we run super lean, and we of course know it's not going to continue at that level, but we want to continue our let's say this has all been our investment, our money. Rory's built the whole thing. We've brought no other devs in. And so we want to continue to run with that, as if it's our money mindset as we use this runway. So that's what I've prepared.
Thank you, Alan. That's a fantastic presentation. And I think you're really entering a very exciting space at the moment with home exchanges. I want to give you enough time with Guy. So I'm going to go straight to Guy here. And Guy, have you got any questions based off what you've heard there from Alan and Swapdesk?
I look, home swapping is not a new concept, right? So it's been there for, I think, as long as some of you before you were born, and you are entering a highly competitive space, right? Hospitality as a whole. So your users are going to search between all those brands that you put forward, right? So you're trying to target that. That's nice, but I'm trying to figure out, especially when you look at the B2C business, your user acquisition, how you're going to solve that. What's going to differentiate yourself than the other home swipe businesses, and how you're going to tackle the user acquisition?
So kind of like what our plan is to get more users.
How can you grow? I mean, again, if
yeah.
you're doing a B2C business in hospitality, you need to grow fast. That's one thing. And the question is about differentiation from one end and the user acquisition issue.
Yeah, I certainly don't have a perfect answer for that. I think part of the investment we're looking for is to more rapidly run experiments until we find like the exact stride. To answer differentiation, I think work ready stays as part of it, but I do think some of the competitors, including hotels and Airbnbs, the industry knows that remote work is like shaping up travel. And so I think, we can certainly tackle that, but it's not like something that's going to last forever as a differentiator. I think the type of users is a very important part of the platform, and overall the experience that we can create, I think, is a real differentiator. And sometimes I think about Revolut, right, which is revolutionized in the fintech world out of the UK. Young people around Europe have it as their banking app, when they're traveling and so on, but they weren't the first bank, right? But they're mobile and they're super easy to use. And as I said, like I've used these platforms on purpose, right? Both as a user and both as trying to test their kind of breaking points. And there's a huge amount of fatigue for users for messaging others. And I think part of that is because they have lots of different kinds of users with different schedules, and ours are a lot more homogenous. And two, I think we can apply LLM concepts, also just, dynamic profiling, and just take a lot of the work off of the user and come to them with, hey, we found you a perfect match. We set up a call for them and really have a very different experience around that. In terms of how we get to like 20,000 users, aside from like just the referrals and so on as we've been going, I don't have the perfect answer to it. I wonder if you have any ideas that, we could leverage that you've seen work, but I don't have the answer there yet. No.
Probably a lot of money. And but by the way, so just to conclude that, Revolut, have a look at that. They started with innovative idea of money exchange before they became a bank, when they were at your place. So I would look for what makes me unique, what is my spot,
Thank you. And any other advice you've seen, the pitch and the presentation there, Guy? What would be your feedback or your advice?
Yeah, I think overall it's a good presentation. I think, Alan, I would focus on, especially when you go to B2C business, especially on the hospitality space. Those are that's what you need to tackle. So either you go and segment a bit more carefully your target audience at that stage, and then look at where they spend their time online and how you can attract them. Then you have an answer on how you're able to grow with a very reasonable ROI on that. So I will look at especially at that part.
Thank you, Guy, and thank you, Alan, as well. We have got some questions coming in, so if we've got some time at the end, we'll try and direct some of those to you as well. But thank you very much for that presentation, and we're really excited to see what the future holds for Swapdesk. Thank you again,
Thanks,
Alan.
Guy.
Let's move on to our second startup now, and I'm delighted to introduce Ruben from Loopa. So Ruben, please take it away.
Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you for this opportunity to present Loopa. I think this is the first time we are presenting it to the world, so I hope everybody feels this extra special today. Okay, let's get started. So we can go to the next slide. I think we all know this problem. It's basically pictures online versus reality when you check in into your to your short-term rental apartment. There's mostly a gap between like the fresh, squeaky clean apartment, the super nice soft linen that are presented on pictures, all the nice branded amenities, and when you come in during the check-in, it's a bit less. It's not always the mess as we show here, but sometimes it's like the linen is not that clean or not that soft. It's not that clean as they show on the picture. So guests these days are really expecting a hotel experience in short-term rental. And it's very hard to consistently deliver for property managers. And that's because a lot of property managers are working with multiple small local companies to provide these services. That means that they have one company for linen, another company for cleaning, another company for the amenities. And obviously, this gives a lot of room for miscommunication, errors, and not the optimal experience. Okay, next slide. So what do we think that is the solution for this? Because we obviously want to solve this, and we want to make sure that property managers can exceed guest expectations. So we think you should get rid of multiple suppliers and take care of one all-in-one property care services that includes the cleaning, the linen, and the amenities. We also think that you should reduce the chance of errors and optimize the time by allowing AI to schedule the jobs. It's also something where we want to create a peace of mind for property managers. They have a lot to deal with already to reduce their stress, but also to step up the sustainability cause. I think it's a great moment to think about your carbon footprint and work with professional and sustainable suppliers. Also, no more last-minute calls, lost messages, everything like on the fly. We want to channel everything into one online platform where all communication is streamlined. And obviously, this online platform provides data-driven decision-making. So you can actually know what happened, and you can start forecasting on what will happen. Okay. So these we think are the solutions, and we came up to try to build a solution with this, to build a system with this. So if you're going to go to the next slide, then we can see that we've built a platform where the property managers meet basically professional service providers, where Loopa sits in the middle as the single point of contact for all these services. So we tell property managers, don't do admin, like work with different contracts, take care of all the invoicing from different suppliers, leave that to Loopa, and just upload your property, including all the property details, the instructions, the access control to Loopa. Once through integrations with PMS systems, once the guest checks out, we create the cleaning job automatically, and this will be distributed through the system to professional service providers. These service providers are professional companies. They are contracted by Loopa, and they didn't have access to this short-term rental market before, because big professional cleaning companies, they require they can't really work well with all these different types of properties, different check-in, check-out times. It's hard to schedule these things, and Loopa takes care of that through the technology. So basically, Loopa is a platform to automatically schedule the property care, the all-in-one, optimized by AI and executed by professionals. So we can go to the next slide. And it's very important to add that Loopa is not just another added technology cost for property managers. Our business model is to property managers. Loopa is an end-to-end service provider. So we are the single point of contact for all the turnaround services, and we charge per delivered service. We don't ask for any SaaS fee or anything to use the technology. We're really a service provider. And to the service providers, Loopa is actually a channel to sell their services. So again, we are the single point of contact. Loopa contracts these service providers, and we pay out per delivered the service. So basically, we can buy at a low but fair price because we offer our service providers an economy of scale, fast payouts, we reduce their admin, and we can sell at a premium but still fair price because we increase the guest experience, we reduce admin and stress for the property managers, and we create a peace of mind that's worth something, right? So let's go to the next slide. Here we looked at different at the landscape or competitors, what we can see. So obviously a property manager has the choice to work with an in-house cleaning team, a small local cleaning company, a professional cleaning company. They can try to have contracts with them, and there's different turnover technology out there. But if we take all the principles that I just mentioned, single point of contact for multiple services, like really professional certifications and certifications for sustainability, all those kind of things, high flexibility. We want it to be online, and we want to create an attention for staff happiness as well. We can see that Loopa scores very high on everything compared to the existing possibilities. Next slide. So then very short, our journey and our progress. So we started with this idea in November 2022. In March, we expanded the team. Then we had in August, obviously we had a lot of cold calls and a lot of online calls, but in August we actually had a couple of in-person meetings with a potential first client. They really liked our product, they really liked our approach to it. We were addressing a lot of their pains, so they're very interested to roll out a pilot with us. Obviously, we have been talking to different suppliers as well. We've done a lot of research, how it would work for them, what is the right pricing, stuff like that. And now we are actually also in very far negotiations with our first two suppliers that could help us fuel this pilot. Obviously, all along the way from November to today, we have done product development. Very lucky to say that I've seen my first real demo a few weeks ago. I was very impressed. And we're planning to go live in November 2023, together with a pilot, we hope. So that's the next. So what are we looking for? We are looking for a seed investment of between 350 and 500K. Obviously, for continuous product development, there's still a lot to build and to expand in the product. But also to fuel our initial operational costs. We can see that we are, once we get to scale, things will get lower, but obviously we will have a lot of starting costs because we do not reach that scale at the beginning yet. And also inventory and resources. So that's the cleaning products that we have to make sure that our professional providers are using, the materials to also make sure that the staff is happy to use and to do the jobs for Loopa. Okay, next slide. So the next slide is the team. This is the last slide. So in our team is Luis, Philip, Eva, Paulo, Karen, and myself. A big team, but we're all coming together from different backgrounds. We have really like development people from hospitality, from operations, from partnerships, and we think that we've brought together a team where we can really make this product a very success. So that's it. Thank you so much for your time.
Fantastic.
And happy to answer any questions.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Ruben. And I know Loopa is a relatively new business, and we've just launched their website as well, which we're putting in the chat for everyone. It's exciting then that you're connecting property managers and cleaning companies. I think I want to give you as much time with Guy as possible. So I'll go straight to Guy, actually. Guy, any questions from what you've heard there from Ruben, please?
Great team. I would assume it might be a bit too big for that stage. My question is, I think I understand what you guys are trying to do. And if I understand right, it's about digitize the way homeowners are getting the services, because your competition, it will be, and there are many of those companies that provide that everything of those, services that you mentioned. They do that, old school services. Okay. So what you are trying to say, we will do that better in the sense that we will bring a lot of other suppliers and we will verify their quality and we'll provide that to you. So my question is, what is in it for the homeowner? I mean, he's working currently, he's getting that services from one end. You're not gonna provide him much cheaper, okay, a solution. So why would he go to choose you? And what I also, from my experience, those companies today that provide those services, they also, or at least some of them, provide marketing services, which is not on your agenda. So if I'm a homeowner and I'm just looking to my ROI on my property, one place where I can do everything is much easier than to work with you and then find somewhere else. So what is for them?
So very good question and very good comments. First of all, so our target audience is large property managers. So at least 50 properties in management, where they really feel the pain of the scalability of getting those operational services. Imagine if you're a property owner and you have different, like multiple properties in different cities, you are dealing with a lot of different suppliers of these services to actually get that, to clean your apartment. The next problem, and that's actually the pain that we are trying to solve, is that we can see that the standard and the expectations of the guests, but also the international brand standards in terms of experience when you enter a room or an apartment is getting higher and higher. And the small local companies, they struggle to really deliver that professionalism. And where we see that large professional cleaning companies who typically have clients as hotels, big office buildings, stuff like that, they actually do have that scale and the capacity to deliver that service, combined with certifications, with the penalty clauses, all of these things. This is what large property owners or managers are looking for. But they don't have access to these kind of companies because the density of these cleaning jobs for the professional companies and the predictability of these jobs are not present in short-term rental. So us combining different large property managers, all their properties into one system that creates the density in different regions, and that makes it interesting for large professional companies to actually go out and do the cleaning of these type of properties.
Thank you, Ruben. And Guy, any feedback on the presentation and the pitch itself, please?
Very good one. I think Ruben done a great job. I like the presentation, and he's from Lisbon, so you need to give him that.
Yeah, and we're getting started here in Lisbon, so you can imagine like this is a proper test case for us with all the hills.
I'll be back at your beautiful country, hopefully soon.
Perfect. Happy to have you here.
Thank you for that, Ruben. Again, if we've got any time for any questions, and if our audience today have any questions for Alan or for Ruben that we've heard so far, then please do post them in the chat, and we'll definitely connect you. Thank you again, Ruben. Fantastic presentation and great to learn more about Loopa. Now let's move on to our third startup today. Connie, you've been waiting very patiently, but I'm excited to learn a bit more about Noshable.
Yeah, awesome. Was also waiting for my invite to Lisbon. That sounds like a lot of fun. Hang on or see if I can do Swapdesk or something out there. But yeah, I'm excited to talk to you guys about Noshable. Like Paul said, I've been patiently waiting. I'm the co-founder and CEO, and we'll go ahead and hop into it if you want to hit the next slide. So at Noshable, we have a very simple mission, and that's to allow guests to focus more on what matters most. When people are staying in an Airbnb or a short-term rental, that's time away from their daily lives and time they want to spend in a meaningful manner. And we're really trying to enable people to do that. Next slide. So we've all faced a problem, and by we, I mean my co-founders as well as myself and probably a lot of you, which is that on family vacations, they don't really start until after errands, not actually during arrival in that process. I think most of us can attest to getting in on a vacation, staying in a short-term rental. It's late at night, grocery stores are closed, and the first thing you do the next morning is go grocery shopping in an unfamiliar grocery store, very crowded if you're in a popular destination, and that's the first thing you're doing as opposed to hitting the beach or whatever the main attraction might be for that vacation. And we found that 65% of people, when they go on a vacation and stay in an Airbnb or short-term rental, look to cook. In fact, 81% of travelers have stayed in a short-term rental that are Gen Z. So it's just becoming and growing in popularity as this new generation comes up of age. And we found that according to NASDAQ, the average time spent in the grocery store alone, so that's excluding the time it takes to travel there and back, as well as unload those groceries, is 41 minutes. And that's also discounting the fact that you're likely familiar with that grocery store's layout. You can go next slide. So travelers want to pay convenience, and they already are. We found from our own surveys that ages 25 to 55, almost 60% of them use gig economy on vacation when staying in a short-term rental, showing that they're willing to pay for vacation. They see it as a luxury spend, and they want that convenience aspect while they're on that vacation. There are over 10 million short-term rentals worldwide, and just on Airbnb alone, there were nearly 400 million last year. Yet 94% of these people still grocery shop in person when they're on a vacation, which just goes to show that there's a big opportunity here. You can hit the next one. And that's where we come in. So with Noshable, we are enabling guests to skip the store and arrive to more. So Noshable streamlines grocery shopping for travel. For a guest perspective, they're able to pre-order their groceries months in advance through a solution that's very similar to curbside pickup. If many of you might have used something like this through COVID in that era, I don't like to talk about it much, but I did mention it. It's relatable. So they have the convenience and choice similar to Instacart or a major grocery retailer, depending on where you live, of ordering months in advance, which even a lot of those grocery stores don't let you do. A lot of them kind of cap off around 3 weeks max. They're able to arrive to fresh groceries no matter what time, because these groceries are actually pre-stocked in the fridge ahead of their arrival, maintaining the quality of those goods. And then lastly, kind of as we hit on in one of our biggest goals, is they're able to skip the store, which capitalizes on that family time or whatever they want to spend that time on. From a host perspective, we allow hosts to drive bonus revenue. We don't charge anything for a host to offer this service. In fact, they're actually able to create some extra revenue by part of the markup that we have on the groceries. A big thing for hosts is homeowner acquisition, especially large property managers. They want to add as many homes as possible. And this is a great benefit if you're having people who want to, rent out their home a majority of the year, but they're coming in, having this amenity for them kind of treats them like a special guest. And lastly, it's just becoming an ever competitive landscape out there, and people are looking for ways to differentiate. And this is a great one because there's not anyone out there doing it yet. So gig economy just isn't cutting it. I hit on this a little bit earlier, but people just don't necessarily trust gig economy with hundreds of dollars worth of groceries in their purchases. We're seeing that nearly 60% of them are using it for things like food, alcohol, snacks, groceries, not so much though. And so that's why we work directly with hosts and property managers' current operation teams who already have cohesive standards. They're stakeholders in the process. They have the track record of cleaning that property or maintaining it, depending on kind of their role or function. And lastly, they already have property access. And that's one of the biggest barriers right now of gig economy is hosts trust their cleaning companies who have liability insurance and have been in and out of a property before, but they don't trust a random gig economy worker twice a week to just come in and out of that property. They're not going to just be like, oh, you're running late, your flight was delayed. Let's just let this guy named Chad into our house that we technically manage and don't even own so that your food is preserved. That's just not happening. And so that's why Noshable has the upper hand. We currently offer over 20 different grocery store brands servicing all 50 states that we're integrated with. We have quality scalable tech. There are some property managers that have tried grocery delivery as an amenity in the past, and it's just text boxes. It's not specific enough. People aren't actually seeing the items. There's no upsell when there's a text box. With us, when you're browsing, you might start adding things to your cart like I'm guilty of when I shop in person, of buying things I don't need, especially unhealthy things. And we just get it. So we have design partnerships with 4 property managers in 4 states already that we're really working on setting up some standard operating procedures for to make this, as we start to scale, something that is really seamless and easy to onboard with. And we currently do have some future interest with over 9,000 properties through different various property managers and individuals that are interested in this service. You can go next. So this opportunity is much bigger than us, obviously. We partner, service, and integrate with the best. As I mentioned before, we're integrated with a variety of different grocery stores, members of VRMA. We have a variety of different property managers we're partnered with, actually some cleaning companies as well. So if, for example, your operations teams, you don't think that can handle this, but it's something you want to offer, we can put you in touch with people in our area that are vetted and can do the job, as well as potentially clean your property if you're looking for someone new. And then, of course, we have a variety of financial people backing us as part of our fundraise that have been super helpful. Looking forward in the next 2 years, we really want to focus on PMS integrations with people like Breezeway, as well as some larger property management companies. You can go to the next slide. So we do have a lot of domain expertise. So my 2 other co-founders and me have all been in an industry that is at least a parallel to this vertical. So at the past, I kind of ran finance and property acquisition for Realpha, which is a short-term rental democratization fund, as well as have some experience in VC in the startup space. Our CTO and co-founder, who's built all of our tech ourselves, was at Kroger for nearly a decade as a senior developer, and he helped build a lot of the Kroger's grocery search function. And Mac is also kind of really good at setting up those standard operating procedures and finding cost savings with his experience at P&G. We have an awesome board of advisors who a lot of have actually invested capital in us as well, who account for several exits, running the happiest place on earth, which just seems like such a fun job. Jim was the CEO of Walt Disney World, and they've also raised over $60 million together. So we have a lot of support and a lot of mentorship through them. Next slide, sorry. And then just our last slide here, where we're currently at. We currently have a little over half subscribed of this fundraise, and we're raising 500,000. Really focused on a couple things. So development is one of the biggest things. Having one CTO who's doing everything for us, because we do want to do in-house development, is great, but it can be slow. We have a roadmap that just is ever growing. And then we really want to focus on customer success and making that time to onboard new property managers and hosts as short and painless as possible. And then lastly, sales. We just believe that anyone on a vacation, whether you're on a budget or not, should have this ability to kind of have that luxury feel of having your groceries and other CPG goods stocked ahead. So that's all I've got.
Thank you very much, Connor. Or should I be calling you the hustle honcho? I didn't know that before.
Yeah, that is kind of, we like to have fun here too. So
absolutely, and it's an incredible business that you built. In a highly adjustable market too, and it's clear that you're working with some really exciting partners too. I'll move straight on to Guy, as he's the one that you really want to hear from. So, Guy, any questions you've got?
Yeah, actually, I like this one. Can you tell me a bit about competition? If you come across competition, I mean, besides if I just do find the local one.
Yeah. So from competition perspective, there's really not a lot out there. So there's kind of three that I can mention. So there's the choice of just going to the grocery store myself, right? They're the people who aren't willing to pay for convenience. But if we set those aside, there are some people who use services like Uber Eats and, gig economy, stuff like that. But that's only 6% from our surveys. The largest one is property managers that are already doing something like this. Or there are some small services. So there are these two girls who have a van in like North and South Carolina, but they're not scalable. They're really just asking people to order through, a click list themselves, and then they try and manage all of those logistics. So there's nothing that integrates into other property, tech like PMS systems, that kind of stuff. So there's really not much out there. We found that a majority of the people who do offer this just use a text box, and there's a lot of room for error there. People weren't specific enough, and then they complained because they weren't specific enough. So we really don't see a lot of competition in the area, which I know is kind of weird to say, but I would love if you do see something to let us know, because we really haven't ran into too much from that. I think one of the biggest areas of competition we see is in the future. We hope to kind of build off of Noshable and start offering other services that are higher margin offerings, potentially like the private chef route and some of those other things that already do exist. But we wanted to start by building a strong foundation on a staple that
private chef and stuff like that. I've seen many doing that. Where are you guys with the company? I mean, do you have some customer today?
Yep. So we are just finished up building our MVP. So we have that developed. Currently, it's integrated with Kroger and all of Kroger's affiliate stores. So that's over 20 grocery stores, as well as Walmart. And Walmart's kind of great for CPG goods and places where people don't want to pack beach towels, but aren't sure if the Airbnb will have it. And then we're starting in one market in specific just to test it and kind of generate those SOPs, as I was saying, which is Austin. So that's our main beta test partner is Portoro. And we're set to start there here in the next week or two. We're just kind of updating a few things from the legal front, like registering to do business in Austin, Texas, and our terms and services, that kind of stuff. And then we should go live.
Thank you. And Guy, any specific advice or feedback for Connor and Noshable?
Yeah, I think you hit on a spot where there is a demand for that. I don't think it's only about convenience pay, right? So everyone who come to short-term rental would be happy to have his fridge full, and if I want my wine there or my gin, so I can book that in advance. That I think there's a demand for that. But I think even more than that, I think homeowners, if you go back, or companies that run properties, sometimes they will be happy to make sure they have milk and coffee in the place, kind of as a service they provide. So if you can run that kind of a service and grow out of that, that might be even something you want to look into when you do your beta.
Mm-hmm.
Good idea. Too early. I think you need to be able to, for the pre-seed, you need to be a bit more with touch with customer. Than an investor, I would look into that, to have some sort of, a pre-beta kind of, to see how that operates, and then talk about the touch points of because there's an efficiency. You need to look at the operational work you have here and efficiency on that part, and where can be a roadblocks that you need to overcome. That can be solved, but be able to have even a couple of small beta tested that you can show, that will be very interesting.
Yep. Awesome. Yeah. And kind of like you mentioned, second homes is one of the other verticals we're really looking into. So that's a good point.
And don't run to integrate PMSs. Okay. You'll find a lot of things very easy in that stage to do, even manually. Okay. Just to see how the demand. Okay. The PMS can wait when you have much more money.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you.
I should say you have got a question in the chat about any plans to integrate with STRz. So Connor, if you want to answer that in the chat, then feel free to go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I can answer that real quick. We've looked into a lot of different platforms and stuff, and they've definitely been on our radar. As I said, with only half of our round closed and one person who's doing all the development, as I'm no help in that regard. I think the biggest goal for us right now is Breezeway, but I could be wrong in that. It's just kind of what I've heard overwhelmingly. So I'll definitely check them out and kind of put more consideration into that. Great question.
I will rephrase my remark. Leave the tech now. Make sure the idea works. It takes time, it takes money. You need that to a later stage when you want to grow. You're not there yet. Okay.
Yep.
That will be very interesting to see that.
Awesome. Thank you.
And Guy, you've heard from 3 really interesting, emerging, innovative startups, from Alan to Ruben to Connor. Just any general thoughts before we close off here?
Very interesting 3 pitches. I think first of all, the person, the entrepreneur. I'm very happy to see that. You have the drive and enthusiasm. That's definitely the number one asset you need to embark this way in an early stage. So you all 3 have that, and your presentation skills are there. I would definitely love to follow up on those and see where they stand. Personally, I am a B2B guy, so the B2C one is a bit more challenging for me. And B2B is where I understand how you can grow, but that's part of my experience and my career come from a B2B part. Really like to hear more where you stand.
Thank you, Guy, and we encourage you to follow up with our startups afterwards as well. And if there are any contacts as well of yours who would be of benefit to our startups and to anyone into the audience today,
and definitely, if any of you want to reach out and ask, for advice, connection, ideas, feel free. Contact me on my LinkedIn. I'll be happy to help.
Excellent. So a big thank you to all of our contributors today, to Alan, to Ruben, to Cohen, and to Guy. I wish we had more time for questions and all of that, but we hope that you'll keep up the interactions long after we've finished off today. So we've got a couple of slides just to run through very quickly before we finish today. Our next webinar from a short-term rental perspective is in a couple of weeks' time. That's on Tuesday, the 31st of October, and it's going to be a short-term rental Middle East and Africa overview. The sign-up link for that webinar is in the chat now. I should say actually that our next pitch to Paul, it's not 100% confirmed, but we're planning to do this sometime in Q1 or Q2. So if there is anyone attending the webinar today, please do get in touch if you're interested in participating either as a startup or an investor. In terms of our next slide, don't miss out on securing your tickets for our first short-term rentals summit in London next Wednesday, the 18th of October, with Skift as our exclusive media partner. I can't believe it's just a week away, but our exciting speaker list includes the likes of Booking.com, Hopper, Aways, Avi Bernstein, Faya Ventures. So we hope that you'll be able to join us there. We have a promo code for everyone tuning in today, which is STRZ Summit 50 to reach a 50% discount to attend. And yes, we hope to see as many of you there in London next week as possible. We also have a quick video that we'd like you to check out as well. It might feature a familiar face. Hi, it's Paul here from Short Term Rentals, and here are my 5 reasons why you should attend the first Short Term Rentals Summit in London on Wednesday, the 18th of October. Number 1, this is our inaugural Short Term Rentals Summit, and we'll be providing in-depth coverage of the day and all of the conversations on stage. Number 2, we'll be exploring all of the key topics that you're talking about, from regulations to AI, sustainability, investments, and much more. Number 3, we've assembled a high caliber roster of speakers from across the travel, hospitality, and real estate landscape that you don't see at all of the other conferences. Number 4, from panels to pitches and even debates, our various session formats give you a little bit of everything. And finally, we're bringing together 100+ attendees so you can network with other leaders and investors. Don't miss out on this must-attend event. Book your short-term rentals summit tickets now. Yeah, so do listen to the guy in the video. We'd love to see lots of you there next Wednesday in London, and it promises to be a fantastic inaugural short-term rentals summit. For opportunities to work with us, please do also contact my colleagues Piers and Jordan, whose details are on the screen for you now. We're going to keep this session open for another 2 minutes at the end as well if you want to jot down any details today from the chat and any contact details for our startups and for Guy, our investor. In the meantime, thanks to Price Labs and to Minute for sponsoring this session and our series. Thank you all to our speakers and to everyone who tuned in today. Do follow up with our startups afterwards, and we'll see you all again very soon. Thank you very much, everyone.